Considerations of domestic racking supplier. To a casual observer, all pallet racking looks very similar, unless you're aware of the fundamental differences between different manufacturers. Anyone forced to navigate the fine print of a simple cell phone package can likely relate to the devil being in the details. In our world, as it continues to evolve into one single marketplace, the dimensional similarity of pallets in global supply drives similar solutions for the purposes of moving and storing them. While similar in appearance, there is no universal standard for metal composition, calculations for capacity, qualifications for welding or assembling or installing pallet racking. While there's a number of design standards in place globally, these are all regional in scope, and they're very specific to the country of use, the equipment available in that market, the environmental conditions that determine the strength requirements of the rack in that region. Minimum standards of source steel yield strength, anchoring, safety factors are still very much the responsibility of the manufacturer to investigate and ensure compliance when they're providing racking for your application. While it's implied that every manufacturer meets the same minimum criteria, we as consumers still implement decision-making tools to help us decide how to narrow down choices when we're presented with more than one. As consumers, we develop personal tools for assessing products for signs that indicate proof or reassurance that the items we purchase are of a high quality, are sourced ethically, and manufactured with integrity. The more transparent the process of the supply, the higher level of reassurance we have as consumers that our assessment of an item is accurate. A common example I use to illustrate this is the buying confidence that results from food supply. We all have to buy food, whether it's delivered in a box to our door, delivered on a plate to our table, or picked from our garden or from the grocery store. If you're fortunate enough to find yourself living near a farming region, be it fresh fruit, vegetables, maybe an area with vineyards, or maybe you're close to an ocean where you can go down to the dock and pick up fresh fish from the catch of the day, how is your mindset impacted when you know the path the food took to land in your basket? Possibly that person selling you that item is the one that planted it, harvested it, maybe they caught it. They will be intimately aware of every step of that process, and you can ask them questions about it. As a result, your level of confidence in that information is higher because you have the transparency of the process and the source which is providing these items to you. When the racking you're considering is made domestically, you have similar access to get answers to your questions that you may be considering. Where does the steel come from? What proof do you have to ensure that the strength of the product in my building matches the values that you're using in your calculations? What are the qualifications of the people manufacturing this rack? Is the manufacturing process environmentally responsible or sustainable? What is the workplace safety record of the plant where my racking is being made? These are all very valid questions that any purchaser or buyer of rack should have in the back of their mind. Racking should not be treated as a blind source commodity that's just purchased once. You are starting a relationship with a supplier that will collaborate with you, with your health and safety group. They'll collaborate with your business development plans for years to come. Like any partnership, you should do your due diligence before you make a decision and understand the transparency of the manufacturing pipeline. Maintenance and repairs. Maintenance of racking is primarily focused on keeping the racking in new or like new condition. This means being free of dents, damage, rust, tears, or any signs of incidental impact. The original shape of the racking is what we use to determine how much it will carry in pallet weight. So when that shape is altered, even in a small way, now the known strength and its relation to the safety factor or buffer that we build into this becomes unclear. So utilizing domestic suppliers for your racking ensures that the components that are originally installed and designed to work collaboratively to create a safe environment for your facility associates are readily available. Mixing manufacturers can be physically possible and was far more commonplace in previous decades, but it breaks a chain of liability that we are now be held accountable to as employers and operators. And the original manufacturer will hold that liability when you maintain the system in the manner in which it was supplied and commissioned. When racking is procured from unknown sources or through third parties, you'll at best be subjected to what happens to be landed at the time of your purchase. That may work with your system on day one, but at worst, you may have to be shut down for extended periods of time because many of the global racking manufacturers amortize shipments into container loads. So you could be waiting months for spare parts. And typically, the spare parts that they provide are not one-offs. A Canadian manufacturer is agile, they are attentive, and if they are looking at, say, it's a series or repeat occurrences of certain types of damage, we can make special and customized parts to ensure that we can protect those areas of high incidence in your warehouse. It will be the operator's responsibility to demonstrate to provincial occupational health and safety officers that you're maintaining a safe workplace for your associates. You can achieve this really in three straightforward steps, to which my associate Derek alluded. You have to ensure the weight of the pallets are known to the operators. You have to ensure the allowable pallet weight is on the racking, is clearly identified to the operator. And you have to ensure the racking is new or like new condition. That's it. It's a really low bar. It's not, however, as easily to maintain over the long period without a good plan. Number three, ensuring the rack is in new or like new condition, falls to maintain and operating a rack maintenance and repair program, of which there are many, which we've previously referred to. The value of utilizing domestic racking resources is that we can work with your facility to identify why incidental damage may be occurring. We can quickly implement specialty solutions into those areas and ultimately keep you compliant, both with provincial occupational health and safety and compliant with your own standards of a safe workplace. Structural concerns, I love that picture. Oh, 1 second, that's my favorite picture. This picture here is actually of a system that was standing. It was struck incidentally by a very heavy forklift. And unlike the YouTube videos that you see online, if that racking is correctly manufactured, installed, and designed, there's a significant amount of factor of safety in place that will prevent those catastrophic failures that we see so readily on YouTube. Canada is still in a developmental stage of creating a standalone rack design code. We don't have one. In fact, we only just entered into the building code in the last 5 years. It's a process that takes many years and even longer for this process to be adopted nationally and down to the provincial level. The majority of Canadian racking manufacturers participate voluntarily in testing, analysis, and promotion of design standards that reflect the safe workplace standards Canada is internationally recognized for. This may often exceed standards of other countries in both minimal material strength, seismic force conditions, and factors of safety. Understanding and adhering to the accepted rack design code in Canada is not as simple as buying one code, but it's comprised of a series of codes that best advocate for the manner in which racking is utilized across Canada. This requires an investment both in time and training to understand how all of these parts and codes work together. Currently, there are no participants in the CSA pallet racking design working group from outside of Canada or the United States. Now, if it was simple as purchasing and following a set of instructions, then that would make this a lot easier for all of us. However, anyone who's tried baking while working from home in the last 2 years can relate that it takes repetition and practice and experience to obtain the desired result. It is, from my personal experience, some things are just more than the words on the paper. That's why bacon supplies are purchased in bulk, at least in my house. Professional pallet racking engineers across Canada are in limited supply. It is a very specialized subset of engineering. It combines structural, civil, and mechanical specialties. It requires knowledge of the geotechnical information across Canada, wherever that project may be. How we build rack in BC is significantly different from how we build it in Regina, into Montreal, and onto the East Coast. It requires data on the shape properties of racking, which is not available and not within the public domain. And the values that we need to determine capacity are only obtained through physical testing. So this is why it's very difficult to find professional engineers who will commit to an allowable capacity of racking manufactured offshore, because these critical components and data obtained through testing are not available, or they're not required. The Canadian market, while largely geographically diverse, does not necessarily warrant the additional costs that meeting Canadian code would require to manufacturers that are not dedicated to this market. That seems like a lot to consider for an owner-operator, and it is, but you are not alone. Companies like North American Steel, with 50 years in the Canadian market, have teams of resources ready to assist you in all aspects of pallet racking design, pricing, layouts, engineering, permitting, and of course, installation. Many hands make light work, and we're here to help turn your business growth challenges into a success story.